Hello again. This is my second live. I just thought of a couple more things that I neglected to mention in the first live. The first thing I wanted to mention was you're probably wondering how we got around. We did have at that hotel, there were drivers that were, at your, if you wanted to pay them, they would drive you anywhere. But I actually did want to use the bus system. They have transit system there. I was dying to use their bus and train system. But before we left to go to Casablanca, I researched the Uber situation there, basically, to see if they had Uber. And so it says that they did have Uber there at one time, but that the taxi drivers drove the Uber away, drove Uber out of there. So there were a lot of fights, and Uber had trouble regulating, the cars and all there in Casablanca. So there is no Uber there. So, but there are some other car ride share apps in Africa. One of them, and the one we used, was called Careem, Careem, and it's through an app. And I downloaded that before we left to Casablanca. And so while we were in Casablanca, we said, let's test it out. So that's what we wound up using. It was just like Uber. It was exactly like Uber. The only difference, it had the little, how you go on Uber and it shows you the driver, what they look like, and shows you the little car and the little map and how close the little car is to where you're at. It was the same thing as Uber, the same computer online website. The only difference is the drivers drove taxis, red taxis. That was the only difference. So I said, well, that must be how Careem is able to keep their business in Casablanca, is their drivers are disguised as taxis. Not disguised, but they're Careem drivers, but they're Careem drivers, but they are taxis. So it worked just like Uber. It was terrific. Much cheaper than Uber. A typical ride to where we went in Careem, anywhere we went in Careem, it would cost two US dollars, which was 20 Moroccan dirham. So now the driving there, the drivers, it scared me. I was scared. The cars, the Careem cars, the taxis, none of them had any working seatbelts, ever. None of them ever had any working seatbelts. And the drivers there, the driving there is not orderly. To me, it was chaotic. Everyone drove very chaotic and fast. They even, it looked like, had to play a game with each other, like a tailgating game, where they drive on the back of the other car's tail. There was a lot of that going on. It made me very uncomfortable. I was very nervous about getting in a car accident because there were no seatbelts in any of the cars, no working seatbelts. That was a problem to me. The other thing I wanted to mention, this will be the last thing, and then I'll be done with my Casablanca tour lives, I think. The travelers, we always have to rag on the snacks when we go out of the country. When we go out of America, the snack scene is the snack scene when we got out of America is never quite the same. They did have a lot of the snacks. They had a lot of the candy snacks. And they had a lot of potato chips. And of course, the one thing I'm looking for I couldn't find, which was a bag of popcorn. Couldn't find a bag of popcorn anywhere. That's the one thing they didn't have. I couldn't find it anywhere. And last but not least, the beverages. A lot of their beverages they use sugar substitutes. They don't use sugar. And like you'll buy, I think my daughter bought a can of Sprite. Now, I don't know if it's because the language on the cans, was Arabic, so maybe we just didn't know. But brought a can of Sprite, and it did not taste like Sprite. A lot of the beverages we brought had sugar substitutes, not like sugar. A lot of that, it looked to me like it should have sugar in it. I mean, we checked the ingredients. We had to start checking the ingredients, and we had to start learning, how to know if it has sugar or not, because it was just so much of a plethora of non-sugar items when it came to beverages. So beverages that here would look like had sugar, like, can of Coke, red can, white writing, typical can. You buy it and it would not taste like Coke. It would not have the sugar. It would have a sugar substitute taste to it. So that's about it. That's my part 2 of the things I left out. My part 2 of the things I left out in my part 1 live. My daughter definitely said she definitely is going back. I don't know if I'll go back. If she goes back, I'll tell her to bring me back some, another outfit. If I did go back, it would be to shop for a couple of outfits. But I don't know if it's worth going back just for that. So, yeah, that's all for now. Thanks. Bye.